Welcome, everyone. Let's see, it is 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is the Clovis Unified Family Resource Center, and we have a little housekeeping to talk about. So we're in webinar mode. That means your cameras and your microphones are off. So please make yourself comfortable, snack away. We can't see you, so you're all good. Questions. We are going to answer questions at the end of this presentation, but as we go along, we don't want you to forget about them. Go ahead and put them in the Q&A feature. And so at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see that little box that says Q&A, and you can enter your questions there. And then again, at the end, we'll capture those. The chat is available if you want to connect with each other. In fact, if you'd like to share who you are, you're welcome to do that. Put it in the chat. This webinar is being recorded. It will be posted on the FRC YouTube channel later this week. But tomorrow, you will receive an email from me with all the handouts from this evening. This morning, it is not evening, it is morning. You will also get a certificate of attendance if you happen to need that. In just a moment, when I'm through with this portion, I'm going to put in the chat the link to all the handouts from today. At the end, very important, please complete the survey. It is very brief. It's only 5 questions, but your input really does matter to me, and it helps drive the Family Resource Center and how I serve you. So if you should have it pop up on your screen when the webinar ends, and it really will just take a minute. And a reminder, this is not legal advice, it's information only. So this is just a little bit about the Family Resource Center. I'm going to go ahead and share this as we get started, because Family Resource Centers and regional centers work hand in hand. We're all funded by DDS, and we're here to serve families. So the Clovis Family Resource Center is a part of our early intervention program, City Kids for Clovis Unified, but I serve families birth to 22. So all throughout Clovis Unified, helping educate families on their parent rights and navigate through special education and providing workshops such as this. So a little bit about the big picture of Family Resource Centers. Again, like I shared, they are funded by DDS. We get a grant. That's the Department of Developmental Services, the same department that oversees the regional centers. So there are 47 family resource centers located throughout California, the Clovis FRC being one of them. And some FRCs are purely to serve those early start families. Others have other grants as well. Another grant that DDS offered a few years ago was the Community Navigator Program. Again, another opportunity to help families navigate through regional center and other services, but each FRC is unique. Some are really small, 1 or 2 people. Some are huge, like EPU, for instance, or parents helping parents are just, really large FRCs. And so many have very different funding. Like I said, additional grants. Some are family empowerment centers and parent training and information centers, but we're all here to help families navigate through services and provide that parent-to-parent support. And just a kind of a big overview of regional center services. So you've got early start services, which are birth to 3. The qualifications for that are very different than Latterman services, which my friends from CVRC are going to talk about in a little bit. But I just wanted to touch on early start, because I know some families, they hear regional center, and again, it's 2 very different types of services. Early start, the qualifications are much broader, because they really are trying to capture children to give them that early intervention kiddos that are even at risk. Whereas Lanterman services, there's very strict criteria. And then the newest provisional eligibility, that's a whole nother what I wanted to share is I put information in the handout drive on each of these topics, and you will see that for more information as well. But lastly, I just wanted to touch on that early start services again, because the Clovis Family Resource Center is an early start FRC. Early intervention services, again, are for, children could be diagnosed at birth with a developmental disability that would, qualify them then. Some children are a little older, and maybe their parents might realize, gosh, I have a concern, and they might get referred to the regional center. You can always self-refer. Sometimes doctors might identify that there might be a concern going on, and they might refer the family. Services are provided through the child's natural environment and through a coaching model. I share that because sometimes families think that it's going to be what you would think of like the medical model of therapy. And really, an early interventionist is coming in and coaching families. It's typically an hour a week. And so they're coming into your home, or if your child's in childcare, they're going into the childcare center to really work with the child, but work with the adults who are caring for that child, because you're the one who's going to be with them. You're their first teacher, right? And so they want to coach you on how to help that child develop and work on those areas of concern when they're not there, which I'm just so fascinated and so impressed by, because myself as a young mom, I had no idea. And so then when I started seeing what our teachers do, I thought, oh boy, I didn't know any of that. And so it really is just such a wonderful model. But also another benefit of early start services is that transition planning. So at age 2.5, there's going to be a whole team that's going to help you coordinate with your local school district and talk about what services they might need to be they might be eligible for, and what assessments might need to be coordinated. And so it really is it's a very smooth partnership, that then you're going from that regional center partnership to now you're looping in your school district as well. So there's a smooth continuum. And lastly, just the plan, because I know we all love to talk in acronyms. The plan that drives those early start services is an IFSP, Individualized Family Service Plan. After age 3 in the school district, that turns into an IEP if a child, qualifies. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right there. And I'm going to let these lovely ladies introduce themselves. And I'm also going to launch a poll while they get their screen set up, just to get a little hint of who's here, okay? And I love the costumes. I'm feeling a little left out. Carmen, are you as well? That we
just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Tonight, though, for the Family Resource Center, I'm going to a trunk or treat and decorating my car, and we're going to dress up for a local foster agency. And so that'll be fun. Yeah. All right. So looks like we've got about 3/4 professionals and a third parents. Interesting. So, well, great. We're so glad to have you all here. Okay.
Sorry, Leanne, I had to open the screen again. It was hiding you guys and I couldn't see you guys. Give me 1 second.
No worries. We are all casual here, right? It often cracks me up when I watch other presentations and they're so professional. And I thought, oh my goodness. I always ask for grace from our families. It's like, I am so devoted to you families. I want to educate you and support you, but tech is not my biggest friend. So
Did Deanna or Carmen, is it in presenter view or are we looking at the right screen?
You're
it's
good.
in presenter view.
So you don't see like my side, it's one screen? It's not split?
Oh, no, it
It's
is.
split.
Yeah.
It is split. Thank you.
Mhm.
Now?
Yes.
Good.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're going to have our education specialist, Carmen Torres, start us off.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carmen Torres. I'm the education specialist here at CVRC. And we're excited to be here today to share this information with you all. Today, we are going to talk about SDP, the self-determination program, and what it means to be in the program. We'll go over some key terms you'll hear throughout the presentation. We'll talk about how being a part of the self-determination program is different from how you are currently receiving services. We'll go over some key things you need to know about self-determination. We'll also talk about how self-determination works and some things that are specific to the SDP program. Before you leave this meeting, you'll understand how to be put on a list of candidates for possible enrollment in the self-determination program and what the next steps are. If you're interested, by attending this meeting, you've completed the first step in the process. Okay, so first, a little information to everyone, just a brief history of how the regional centers came to be and why they exist only in California. So it all started with Frank D. Lanterman. He was an assembly member in the Southern California area. And in 1973, he proposed a law that gives people with developmental disabilities the rights to services and supports that enable them to lead a more individual and normal life. So he, again, like it says, foster greater independence and opportunities for people with disabilities. And that is how the Lanterman Act came to be. Throughout the state, there are 21 regional centers with more than 40 offices located throughout the state of California. Each regional center is a private nonprofit entity on contract with California's Department of Developmental Services. Central Valley Regional Center is one of the 21 regional centers in the state of California. And there are 3 locations that we serve. Central Valley Regional Center has 3 locations. We provide services throughout Madera, Mariposa, Fresno, Kings, and Tulare counties with offices in Fresno, Merced, and Visalia.
Sorry, Carmen, I don't know why I keep switching. Let me go back really quick.
That's okay.
Sorry, I don't know why the slides keep switching. I'm not switching it, so give me 1 second. Well, it's not letting me go back, Carmen.
Okay, well, I'm almost to that slide. So
Okay.
CVRC's mission is to help individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and children at risk reach their goals. And what qualifies as a developmental disability? That would be intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, autism, epilepsy, or a condition similar to intellectual disability. And the developmental disability must have originated before the age of 18. Regional center services are through case management, and some of the services we provide are through case management, educational advocacy, respite, behavioral services, adaptive skills training, out-of-home placement, social recreation, social skills training, vocational exploration, and specialized medical dental referrals. Now we have, we'll go into the SDP program, and that will be presented by Maria Clausen and Deanna Gajarian.
Welcome, everyone. So today you're going to find out what the self-determination program is. Just a few things for you guys to know. The program was originally started off as a pilot program. All 21 regional centers received federal funding back in 2018. CVRC was selected to receive 140 individuals who had expressed interest at the time to transition from traditional services to self-determination. In July of 2021, the self-determination program was made available to anyone who is 3 and over and is Lanterman eligible. In order for you to be able to be eligible for the self-determination program, you must live in the community or plan to transition out of that setting. So if you are living in a group home or a skilled nursing home, you are able to participate in self-determination. You just have to have a plan to transition out of that setting prior to using the certified budget for the self-determination program. So in self-determination, you must be Lanterman eligible, which is 3 years and over. This is a voluntary option that is available to anyone over the age of 3, that is CVRC or any of the 21 regional centers. So now we're going to talk about how is this program different from what you're currently receiving. So right now you are receiving what we call traditional services. That is where you contact your service coordinator when you need services and support. CVRC is the one who pays those services directly. For example, if you were requesting respite or currently receiving respite, your CVRC service coordinator would be the one to create that purchase order to pay the vendor that you're using for the service that you're utilizing. And of course, you would only be able to use a vendor service that we vendor with. So in SDP, also known as self-determination, how it's different is that you're able to utilize vendored and non-vendored services and support. So for example, like I previously mentioned, in traditional services, you would be only able to stick with those agencies and those workers that the agency provides you. In the self-determination program, you're able to tell the regional center that you want to hire the staff that knows your child best, that you want to hire this agency that is not vendored with CVRC. You're able to use, for example, ABC Gymnastics that's down the street from your home, rather than sticking to the social rec activities that the regional center is offering in traditional services. Those are just a few examples. And like I said, in SDP, you're really seeking the services and supports that best meet your needs. You're not stuck in that box of what services the regional center offers you. You're able to customize those services and supports. In SDP, you will receive a budget from the regional center that you approve, and that you're able to tell the regional center how those funds are to be utilized. So self-determination is based on 5 principles. That is how the self-determination program is based. The first one being freedom, that you're able to make your own choices and your own decisions of your life. The next one is authority. You get to decide how you spend your budget that the regional center gives you. And then support, like I talked about, you get to choose if you have paid or unpaid staff. Those are the staff that you're choosing to help you. And then responsibility, this is huge. You're taking responsibility for your budget and also for the decisions that you're making. And then the last one, confirmation, is that you get to design all the services and supports that best meet the needs, that best meet your needs. So how does this program work? So the self-determination program begins with what we call person-centered planning. This is where you get to tell the regional center what your goals are, what your dreams are, how you're going to get there. You receive a certified budget from the regional center that's going to show what services the regional center may or may have not paid in the past 12 months. When I say may have not paid, meaning you could come into the self-determination program without having any services that the regional center has funded for you in the past 12 months. But through person-centered planning, that's the discovery process where you get to now tell regional center what are the services that you're needing that best meet your needs in order for you to live out that plan. You will still have a service coordinator. You must use a financial management service. That is the FMS agency who will pay for the services and supports that you list. You will receive you will turn into the regional center a spending plan. That's you telling us how you're using the budget. And then a unique role that's only available in the self-determination program is what we call an independent facilitator. And that person is going to be the one that you can decide to hire to help navigate either the transition to SDP or ongoing support.
All right, I will continue. Good morning. My name's Deanna Jagarian, and I'm also part of the SDP team here. I am going to talk about the role of your service coordinator. The service coordinator still plays an important role when you enter into SDP, and they will help you with your services and supports through the regional center, just as they do now. They're going to help you determine your individual's budget. They're going to continue to help you with the individual program plan, otherwise known as your IPP. And if you don't decide to use an independent facilitator for the program, then your service coordinator will act as the independent facilitator. So next we'll talk about FMSs, or financial management service providers. In SDP, a financial management service provider is a mandatory service that you must have. We have many to choose from that you can decide which one is best for you. And what that person does, the agency, is they handle the money. They're going to verify the provider qualifications. So that includes background checks, fingerprints, to ensure that they are a candidate to work with your individual. Like I said, background checks are also going to be the one that pays your providers. And like I said before, this is a required service for SDP. So we'll dive into the budget and how that is determined. The budget is the amount of money that you have to spend over the next year that you're in the program, and that's used to fund your services and supports. This budget is based on 12 months, what the regional center has paid out for the individual prior to transitioning into SDP. The budget is based on regional center services that we would fund traditionally. So whether or not you're in SDP, that remains the same. You're just able to use non-vendored services, which Maria talked about. The budget can change throughout the year if the person's needs change, there's unmet needs that you're seeing, then we can definitely talk about changing that budget to make sure that we're getting all of the individual's needs met. And lastly, we always are going to ask that you access generic resources first, which would be things like Medi-Cal, in-home supportive services. We would look to those first. So now we will talk about the spending plan, which goes along with the budget. As we said, you get to choose the services and supports that'll best meet your needs and your goals, which are identified in your person-centered plan. Your team is going to assist with this. They'll help you decide what, who, when, how often, the cost, what you're going to pay your workers. Generic resources cost effectiveness and appropriateness still apply to the spending plan. Only services and supports that are on the spending plan will be paid by the FMS. So if you do not have a spending plan with the FMS agency, say one of your staff is not listed on there, unfortunately, they will not be paid. We have to make sure that everything you're going to use is listed on that spending plan. It's your responsibility, of course, with help from us, to monitor your budget, the hours that staff are billing, and also all the services that are being used. So next we'll talk about the final rule, HCBS compliance. HCBS is home and community-based services, and the final rule, what HCBS states is that the individuals can make their own choices. They can live in neighborhoods that they choose, just like you and I. They have the opportunity to work or volunteer, whatever they choose. And you can make friends with whoever you want, just like we do. So the self-determination program is designed so that you are fully included in your community.
Thank you, Deanna. So here are a few things that if you have an individual in the self-determination program, that they're able to utilize that budget for that Deanna talked about. In SDP, you are able to pay your workers more than what you would typically get from the regional center. So for a good example that I like to use is, if CVRC is paying your respite agency $35 an hour, we know your worker is only getting that minimum wage, and you're getting, and the rest is going to that FMS agency. Now you get that full $35 an hour, and you're able to decide how much of that $35 an hour you want to pay your worker. You are able to, if you decide, to have paid support staff to live on your own, support to start your own business, choosing a health and fitness agency that maybe is not vendor through regional center, and then equipment for safety. This is a good example. I had an individual who did not know how to tell the difference between hot and cold. In the self-determination program, she was able to purchase a water regulator. So in traditional services, she would not be able to do that. But in the self-determination program, she was able to take some of those funds that we had approved and list on that spending plan a water regulator to help her control the temperature in her own home. So just to summarize what the self-determination program is, it's focused around your goals. You're able to choose services and supports that best meet your needs. You are able to hire what's called an independent facilitator. That is a unique role to self-determination. You would not be able to utilize a IF or independent facilitator, as we call them, if you were receiving traditional services. In self-determination, you are able to utilize this person. This is something that the state of California is currently paying for you to have an independent facilitator to help you transition to self-determination. That does not come out of your budget. That is something that your service coordinator would create, what we call a purchase order, to get that person paid prior to you transitioning to self-determination. Of course, like Deanna mentioned, anything that you're wanting to purchase or services and supports, all must be listed on that spending plan. And the only vendor required service is that you use an FMS agency to pay for services and supports to make sure that background checks are completed on the staff that you're wanting to use. So how do you become part of the self-determination program? You must attend a mandatory orientation. CVRC does offer them in both English and Spanish, one time a month. If you are wanting to take it sooner than that, you are able to take it at another agency that offers orientation. That is something that if you're wanting to do, the dates are listed on the CVRC website, but you can also contact your service coordinator to get the links for the other sites to sign up. So after you attend orientation, you would then complete a person-centered plan, either with an independent facilitator or with the support of your service coordinator. Or you can also do it yourself if that's something you choose. Then, of course, the next step would be that you would transition to SDP after the person-centered plan has been reviewed by the program manager of the regional center. And now the services and supports are now listed on that certified budget. You have signed it and agreed to the services and supports, and that spending plan has been submitted for review to regional center. So now we're going to open it up to any questions you guys have. And also I want to share the links here if you're wanting more information on the self-determination program, how it started, any frequently asked questions. You can visit the DDS page. You can also, this is a great resource. You can also sign up on the DDS website in the self-determination program. Anytime that DDS puts out any directives, any updates to the program, you can get an email sent to you. And all you have to do is sign up on that DDS website. If you're wanting more information on the CVRC self-determination program, you can visit our website as well. The brochure is on there, as well as orientation dates. Any trainings that we're currently offering are listed as well. And of course, if you ever have any questions throughout the process, or maybe after you leave this training, you can always email us at sdp@cvrc.org, and one of us on the team will respond to you.
Thank you, Maria. I see we have a question already. I had a couple more slides about how families can participate, but I want to tackle these because I have a question, and I want to tackle the question that's in the chat first. How long does it take to enter the SDP program?
That's a great question. It can take as little as 3 to 6 months. It could take a year. I've had individuals that when I had them on my caseload, it took about 3 years. It just really depends on a lot of factors. You have to have a financial management service to transition to SDP. At times there is waiting list with the financial management service that you choose. But also there could be, you know, it just depends on how quickly you can get that person-centered plan completed. There's really a lot of factors, and because it's person-centered and you have to wait for an FMS, it really just depends on all those factors to fall in place in order for you to transition.
Are there traditional timelines for that apply like with other regional centers? No?
No, there is no timeline. It's your own timeline. You're the one that's driving the transition. You're the one connecting to the financial management service, putting yourself on that wait list to see, and then that's when you would come back to the SDP team and your service coordinator, and you would let us know the FMS has accepted us into the program for a January 1st start date. And so at that time, that's where Deanna and the team and I would look over, you know, to see, you know, to ensure that that FMS is in place, that person-centered plan is approved by, you know, the program manager of your service coordinator, and then that budget's developed and your spending plan has been submitted and is ready to go.
Okay. Can an individual have traditional services with CVRC and an SDP?
Great question. No, if you transition to the self-determination program, then you are now in a self-determination program, but you are able to, let's say that you're like 3 months in and it doesn't work for you. So, you can always exit the self-determination program and return to traditional. The only thing is, if you decide to then switch again, you have to wait a year in order to come back to SDP. But there is no, but you can't have like self-determination things on your budget and then tell the regional center to pay for things separate. It all has to be paid on that budget and listed on the spending plan.
Okay, great. And great advice. This question right here loops into my question, so it might be a two-parter. So the question is, for someone who is conserved, can their conservator be part of the self-determination program on their behalf? So put a pin in that, because what my question is how does this all play in with self-advocates, right? Like, how accessible is this program to somebody who is, may or may not be conserved, right? But is trying to advocate for themselves and make those decisions to the
Great
best of their
question.
ability.
I'm gonna let Deanna answer that question.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Anybody can be part of the team that assist with transitioning into SDP. We actually welcome that. People that even conserved, we just want those that know the individual best to assist with creating their plan and moving forward throughout the process. I hope that answered the question.
Well, I think it did. So an individual can be conserved, but still be part of that team and making those decisions.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think to expand that a little bit, I get asked a lot too, even within the school district as well, when an individual with a disability turns 18 and reaches that age of majority, right? And how do families still play into that? And right, because nobody even though somebody is becoming an adult, they may still want the support of their families, right? And so just having those conversations and helping them support them. I also noticed that there are self-advocate friendly materials that regional center has available as well in that self-advocate language that is more accessible to someone who is a client, be able to understand it, and or for me, it really, because sometimes there's so much verbiage that I really enjoy that more simplified, just give me the bullet points. I don't I don't need a novel. And so I think that's very family friendly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and pick up where I left off at. Okay, and so I just want to talk a little bit about partnering with your service coordinator, with regional center. Again, just the information you gave, I so appreciate it, because it's a lot like entering, the IEP world at first, right? All the acronyms and all the choices and all the things that the professionals talk about every day can feel like a foreign language. And so I appreciate you ladies breaking it down. And I also just wanted to share some tips for partnering. And no matter which plan you go with as a family, but as they mentioned, your service coordinator is your primary contact and partner in developing your plan. And I say that because sometimes it can be confusing as a family. You have so many maybe service providers that you're communicating with as well. And you think, well, I told the speech therapist that I want to do this, right? But it's that service coordinator that's your primary contact. And so it's important for families to remember that, because that also helps get things done promptly. And then also, signing and returning your documents promptly. Again, comparing things to the IEP world, sometimes families don't realize that, of course, we want you to understand and make sure you agree with everything. But once you do, it's important to sign it and get those things back, because that all drives those services. And so I will talk to families who will say, well, why, why isn't this person doing this yet? And I think, well, we talked about that 2 weeks ago, but did you sign it and return it? And they're like, oh, I forgot to do that. And it's like, yeah, those documents are what drive everything. And so, again, get those back and plan ahead. Again, this was something, I learned along the way that, there's a whole approval process to funding. It's not just a matter of you having that meeting and the team deciding, okay, this is great. We want, we want to access this. That service coordinator has a whole approval process to go through. And I'm sure you ladies can attest to that, right? and so it's not as easy as just checking a box and, services start tomorrow. It can take months. And so again, be thinking ahead and give that service coordinator time to get that done. Keeping your service coordinator up to date about what's going on. If there's been a hospitalization or significant things going on in your family, that service coordinator, again, is your partner and needs to be aware of what's going on in the family so they can make sure that everything's being addressed. Again, giving ample notice for so many families want their service coordinator to attend. In particular, certain IEP meetings, maybe a transition meeting or discussing those outside services, and they want them to collaborate, which is wonderful. But again, I talk to families who say, well, I requested my service coordinator attend this meeting. How come they're not here? And I said, well, when did you let them know? And they said, well, I told them yesterday. I sent them a text or I sent them an email. And I know how important it is for families that you want your service coordinator to be there. So as soon as you get that meeting notice, let your service coordinator know. Often families don't realize too that school districts can't invite your service coordinator to the meeting. It has to come from the family. And so that's just important information that I want families to keep in mind to get your service coordinator there if at all possible. Keep your documents organized and be ready to share with your service coordinator. Examples, a copy of your child's IEP. Again, the school district can't give your service coordinator a copy of the IEP. You have, unless there's an ROI and you sign that release and authorize us to do that. But in general, you have to give them that copy of the IEP. And so recent assessments that maybe your doctor's done or an outside provider, you want to make sure and keep your service coordinator up to date with all of that. And speaking of organized, because all my Clovis Family Resource Center families know I'm passionate about my FRC binders that I give to families for free. Again, that is from my mommy lens of knowing, even decades ago, early on, just knowing how important it was to come to the table, because we as the family are the experts on our child, right? And we're bringing to the table our expertise on our child. But even if you don't know what all those terms are that people are using, again, if you can just come equipped with that paperwork, it will just help you be a more effective participant. And here I even, I put some suggestions that, we think of services in different, basically 3 different models. You've got the medical model or, health related. You've got the educational model, special education, IEPs. You've got the regional center model and IPPs. And so often those documents, can overlap in the sense of all of those will probably want copies of reports and your IEPs, that sort of thing. But if you can divide your records into those, it will help. Another thing that I'd like to suggest, again, from that mommy lens, is keeping a notebook handy. Honestly and truly, you go to meetings, whether it is a IEP meeting for the school, a doctor's appointment, a regional center appointment. Honestly, if you could just keep a notebook handy around with you so that when you think of something off the top of your head, whether it's a question, a concern, something a to-do list, right? Oh, I need to get that done, and jot it down. It's life-changing. Okay, because again, we go into these meetings and we think that we live it every day, and we know what our questions are and what our concerns are, or what what we want to plan for. But often you get into meetings and you're having so much information shared with you that your mind just, you could leave that meeting and not get your own input shared or your questions asked. So again, that's just hands-on tips for you. But that's really, lastly, communication is key. If you don't understand something, it is okay to ask questions. I don't know a professional, whether it's regional center, school district, or medical professional, that doesn't want a family that if you don't understand, ask a question. So many conflicts can arise from misunderstandings, okay? And so, ask your questions. It is all right. It's important to remember to be respectful to one another. Again, these are our loved ones, and emotions can run high. We can get frustrated, which is totally understandable. Again, we talk about timelines and wait list, and all that can be frustrating, right? It really can be. And so, but it's okay to advocate. That's what our job is as families, is to advocate. But it's just important to be kind, and it doesn't mean you'll always agree, but it's a team effort. And so we want to work collaboratively to get those services that we need for our loved ones. So that's it. That's all I got, kids. Did I stop sharing? Yes, I did. Okay. So I don't see that we have any more questions, but again, I'm going to post the link in the chat to the handouts one more time. And let's see. We know this is a lot of information. One, that's why it's recorded, and you can watch all this information again at your own convenience. Two, there are lots of handouts in the drive for you to read through at your own convenience as well. And then lastly, we all shared our contact information as well. You've got the self-determination team's email, you've got my email. Please feel free to reach out. If it's a self-determination question, please reach out to them, because I still don't have it down. Every time I think I do, I think, oh my goodness, nope. It's a lot. And you know what I'm going to tell you? I've heard really great things from families. And when it first rolled out, I thought to myself, who on earth could tackle that? It really seemed insurmountable. I just think of, as a caregiver, there's so much on our plates already. I thought, who on earth could tackle hiring people and doing all that? But really, I have heard amazing things about how much families enjoy the freedom of being able to get just what their family needs, instead of that with sort of list of what's available, right? And being able to think outside the box. So kudos to you ladies, good job. All right, well, we're gonna end early today. So you all get some free time to go enjoy a pumpkin spice now that fall has finally arrived, okay? But thank you everyone for coming. And again, you'll be receiving an email from me in the next day with all the resources from today and the link to the recording. All right. So
Thank you, Leanne.
oh,
Thank you,
absolutely.
everyone.
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.